Boom. All right, we're live. I'm gonna wait till some people come in. So today we're gonna be doing something that only a couple of DJs in the whole world can do. I believe Mr. Switch is on this level. I'm on this level, and the level that I'm talking about, the tier that I'm talking about, is being able to sight read TTM notation, sight read DJ music, to actually be able to look at a composition like this and actually, just execute it. Now, so there's a little trick that I've learned over the years. I used to practice all the time, and then, sometimes certain cuts get rusty. But what happens is, once you learn how to read notation and sight read music, you don't have to worry about your cuts getting rusty. Like, for instance, I used to have to, cut all the time just to be able to keep my cuts sharp. But before I started being able to, now that I'm able to sight read, I don't have to cut all the time to keep my cuts sharp. I could cut once a month and just do this one particular piece, and my cuts will stay sharp. So being able to sight read music, scratch notation, I'm not talking about regular classical music, be able to sight, because that can confuse you even more, because the time is disjointed, where TTM time is actually linear. All right, so, these are all a bunch of different cuts. This was a routine that I did for IDA in 2019. And it was at a very, very high level, so I use this as a practice tool. I use this to actually, practice. So, because before, when I would practice, I would just kind of be like, oh yeah, let me just do some flares. Oh, let me do some 3 clicks. Oh, let me do this. And it was just all kind of random. But see, once you're able to actually read music notation and sight read music, you won't have to practice as much, because it's the same as like math. It's like, same as reading. It's like, when they say reading is fundamental, it's the same thing for scratching. So we're going to use this ScratchCon record right here. I got this record right here, this record at ScratchCon 2000, right, 22 years ago, when I won the DJ Qbert Scratchmaster Scholarship. Right, I won the DJ Qbert Scratchmaster Scholarship. He gave me $1,000. And I went and bought a 07 mixer, right? And I gave them the $1,000 back, basically. Right, so we're just going to use the fresh sound on this side. Now, this is an old school fresh sample that has a real long fr part on the, basically on the attack. It's got a very long attack. It's not a sharp attack. And then the resh kind of starts right here, which is a much louder sound. So we're not going to scratch on this part today. We're only going to scratch on this. But yeah, so there's no, I've seen Mr. Switch perform with the orchestra. Now, the thing about this is that, there's not a lot of DJs in the world that can actually read TTM. People write their notations down, like different ideas. But as far as as far as I've seen, this was the first ever piece that was ever used in the battle that was totally written. Now, when I did it in the battle, I didn't actually follow it 100%. Maybe in that IDA battle, I followed this like maybe I was like 80%. Maybe like I was 80% on point, and there was 20% freestyle within it. But freestyle using some of the techniques in here, like maybe I would skip a line and jump to something or whatever. But once you're able to actually, and shout out to everybody that's in the room. So this is for the real turntablists out there, because there's a lot of kind of supreme kind of culture. I'm talking about supreme, the skateboard culture, like where it's all fashion and it's all about the gear and all that stuff, and that's cool. But for those that don't know, I'm not hooked up with Serato. Serato's never given me any type of sponsorship. When I was teaching in Cartagena for the U.S. Department of State, they gave me a copy of Serato to give to the kids. I asked the Serato people when I was at their office if I could get a copy too, and they're like, no. So they told the inventor of scratch notation, no, you can't have a copy of Serato. But whatever, I don't even use it. I've been using the same record for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So so shout out to all the hardcore turntablists out there. All right, so I put this mirror up here so you can see that I'm actually doing this. That it's not like. All right, so let's get this started. All right, can you see me in the mirror? Yeah, I just want you to see that the turntable's moving. All right. Okay, so now this is what my practice sessions are like. So when I recorded the Skratch sampler, the PMOS 100 that we just dropped, it was I had to, it took me weeks to do it, of doing every single scratch, finding the best one. I did thousands of versions of the Skratch of the scratches and chose the ones I liked. So I kind of stopped scratching for a while because my arm was killing me that day or those couple of weeks. And just took a break and a little rest. And sometimes it's good to take a break and a rest because then you can come back and form new styles. And as far as practicing, I would say it's always best to not scratch for more than 15 minutes, because once your arm starts getting tired, then you start practicing bad technique, and you always want to be practicing good technique. I think it was Kobe Bryant or another NBA player said that it's not about how much you practice, it's about how much you practice when you're paying attention. So it's about not just time of practicing, the hours spent practicing, it's also about paying attention. But also, to speed things up, basketball doesn't have notation, but mathematics has notation, reading has notation. Imagine doing an equation in your head without a piece of paper and being able to write it down, right? Or imagine trying to memorize a paragraph in your head without writing it down. But when you see it written down, it's easy. Anybody can just read a paragraph once you know how to read. So once you know how to read TTM, and only a couple people in the world can do this, and probably me being at the best at it, since I invented this, it will propel you light years ahead because you won't have to practice as much. So we're going to go through that. All right, so we're going to start right here. So I'm just going to go very, very slow through this the first time, then we're going to keep doing this over and over, and I'm going to get faster and faster. So here we go. Oops, this mirror fell, but whatever, I'm going to leave it. Y'all saw that I was really doing it, so maybe I'll put that mirror back up later. So we're going to go through these scratches one by one. So you see I just did these first two lines. It goes so that's a delete scratch, right, by DJ Trouble. So it goes right, and then there's a little stab at the end right there. So it goes right. Let me put this mirror back so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. Let's see if this works again. I'll put this mirror right here. Maybe you'll be able to see it. Yeah, you'll be able to see the turntable moving. That's all All right, so right here, so that's a delete scratch with a stab at the end. So it's double stab, right? And then this right here, this is a M flare, and it goes like so. Right? You see right there, that's the first one. It's half a flare, then it's a backwards baby, and then a half flare on the way back, like that. So it goes right. So it's two M flares and then a flare. So it right. So it goes right. So I just did all the way up to there. And now this repeats, and then there's a space, and it goes waka 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 woo. So this is a stab right here, but it's kind of like a logarithmic stab where it kind of sounds more like a power down. So it's like that. So that's why I just did this first line. Now I'm going to do the second line. You see, it's instead of like a chirp flare, it's kind of more like a scribble flare or a tip flare. So it's a tip, like a scribble right there, like you see the little roll there, like you see the roll, and then you see a flare. So it goes waka 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 waka, and then you see a chirp flare here. It goes waka 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 waka. Waka waka, another scribble flare, and then waka waka, another scribble flare. So let's see how that sounds. All right, so I just did this first half of it. So waka 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 waka. All right, and then after that is a chirp. There's chirp flares after that. So I'm gonna do this whole line right here. Line number 3 is where we are. No. I'm sorry. Line number 2 is where we are. So it goes. All right, so that's what I just did. It's chirp, scribble flare, scribble. I'll just say tip flare is faster. Tip flare, flare, tip flare, tip flare, flare. Oops, I'm on the wrong line. Tip. See, this thing keeps repeating. I mean, I added this in the routine, so it's like it's kind of like a break. Like it's not. It's real easy for me to do chirp flares and tip flares, and you know, part of having a battle routine is not messing up. So I found that it's sometimes when you're writing the notation, it can be good to give yourself some breather, add some cuts every now and then, every couple of lines to give yourself some breathing room, so it's not just pure complicated the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So this whole line is a lot easier for me than some other lines. So it's going tip flare, flare, tip flare, flare. Chirp flare, chirp flare, chirp flare, tip flare, tip flare. So I'm gonna do it one more time. So it goes. All right, so it's just like that. All right, so now we're gonna go to this next one. This is another delete scratch, right? So it goes followed by a stab. So and then this is a wah scratch. I invented this in like 99, maybe 98, but I showed it to DJ Qbert at the Virgin Megastore a couple of days before February 17th of 2000, because he was performing when we released TTM 1.0 at Symphony Space, right? So let's finish this up. All right, so so this is for the people that actually want to know how to sight read music. So, you know, I'm going to go through, so this is this wah scratch right here. It goes like this. Right, so that's a wah scratch. There's 3 clicks, right, in the whole thing. And, you know, it's kind of like a, you know, like it's a skewed baby, like. It makes 5 sounds, actually. All right, so it's going, Waka 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 waka. So we're gonna do that line. So it goes. All right. So we just did that one line. All right. And now the next line is that same line from number 2, and it's going tip flare. So it's a theme that's returning. Tip flare, flare, tip flare, flare, M flare, flare, M flare, stab. So it looks like this. So it should go. So we're doing this one right here. It goes. Right, so I just did that line right there. That's that. All right, now we're gonna go to the next line. This is a delete scratch and a stab. Right, and then this is a hybrid scratch. Half of it's a 2-click orbit, 2 triple-click orbit on the way forward, and on the way back, you can see it's a tear. It's a 2-pause tear. So it's gonna go wa-ta-ta, wah-wah-wah. So it's going, so like that. So it goes like that. So that's what it is. So it's going. So. Right, so that's what that is. That's a hybrid. So it's a 2-click to 2 tear, right? And it's on a cross rhythm, so it's going. All right. So it's gonna go. Right, and then we see it happen again. So we're gonna try that. Alright, so we just did the part right here. Now we're going to do the next one. So let's do this whole line. So it goes, whoops. Right, so we just did this first part. So and then we're going to repeat it again. So let's do it twice now. Right? So it's like that. All right. Now the next line, let's go to the next line. Next line is that same phrase repeating again, but it's going to use these hybrid 2-click to 2 tears at the end, and then an extra scratch, an even 2-click orbit, which sounds like this. Sounds like 2 flares, but it's not. All right, it's not a triplet 2-click. Most 2-clicks are triplets, like what-a-da, 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 or what-a-da, what-a-da, right? So yeah, so we're gonna do that right here. So it's gonna be tip flare, flare, tip flare, flare, flare. 2-click to 2 2-click to 2 tear, 2-click to 2 tear, 2-click 2 clear, 2-click 2 tear, and then a regular 2. Then an even 2-click. Okay. All right. So we're gonna do that. So it goes like this. And notice, because like all this could just look like a bunch of clicks and gobbledygook. But once you can recognize particular flat scratches, and you can see it for the scratch, just like typing. You see the letter A, you know it's the letter A. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to memorize, a bunch of different characters and stuff like that. All you have to do is know the alphabet, and then, you can read any book, right? Once you know the alphabet. All right, so we're going to go through this line right here. All right. Yeah, this is where we are right here. Line number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think we're on. No, we're not on line 6. We're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. So I think we're actually right up here. So we just did those. Yeah, we're right here. We're about to do this line right here. Okay. So here we go. All right, and then we're gonna do these ones. Like that. So it goes. Like that. So we just did the next one. Now we're going to do this next line. We're going to go. Right? That's the delete scratch. Now this one is a chin machine. A 2-click chin machine. And it goes. Or really not a. Chin Machine made one version of it, but also shout out to other DJs who've pioneered that. But I would give credit to Chin Machine. He's the first time I saw somebody do that. But let me see. So yeah, so that's like a Chin Machine. So it goes right. Whoops. Right, so that's how it sounds. It's like a Chin Machine. Definitely work good, right? All right. So I'm gonna do this whole line right here. It goes. Whoops. All right. So I just did the whole line. So here we go. So let's now we're just gonna do the whole thing. All right. So we're gonna do the whole routine. So I'm gonna start from the beginning. Right, because it can get boring if I just do it step by step too much. Right? So I'm going to go slow at first. Right, so that's the first 2 lines. Line number 3. All right, we just did line 4. See? All right. Now we're gonna do the next one. So we just did this. Now we're doing this next line. So. Whoops. All right, so I kind of messed up on this cross rhythm right here. So look, so I'm going to go through this line again. So we're going to do that again. So. All right. So there we go. So now we're going to do this next line. All right. So we just did that one. Now we're going to do this one. It's just that 2-click chin machine over and over again, over and over again. So it goes. Right, and it has a little stab in the end right there. All right, so you can see that. It's a little stab right there. All right, so I ended off of that. Now I'm going to do this one. You see it's a delete, and then a stab, and then a bunch of chirps. These are triplet chirps, and these are double time chirps. Right, and this is another delete, another stab, bunch of triplet chirps, right? I'm sorry, double time chirps. So these are triplet chirps and these are double time chirps. So here we're gonna go. So we're gonna do it now. So you see that? So you see the difference between those triplet chirps and those double time chirps. So it's going waka 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 waka, right? Like versus these ones are like like, right? Oops, let me put this mirror back so you can see, hopefully. Let's see, can you see? Yeah, so you can see the record's moving. All right, so where are we now? So we just knocked out those. Now we're back to this kind of reoccurring thing, right? And we see it's a tip, flare, flare, tip, flare, flare. Now this is like a fake Joe Cooley, right? Because a real Joe Cooley has a swirl in the middle of it, but this one just has a little tip in the middle of it, a little scribble. So it's going chirp. And I did these because they're easier. You know, fake. I didn't put any Joe Cooleys in here, just because I was just trying to make it a little bit more easier. But I think there might be some. No, there's no Joe Cooleys in here. But these are the fake Joe Cooleys. So it's going chirp. And then a little scribble, then a chirp. So it goes. So that's like a fake Joe Cooley. All right, so we're gonna do this whole line right now. So it goes. Let me like that. Do it a little bit better. Right, so I just did this whole line right there. That's how it sounds. So now the next one, we got a delete scratch, and then a stab, and then a wah, and then and you can go to the video. I actually got a video of me showing this scratch to Cubert, the wah scratch, in February 2000 at the Virgin Megastore. I was showing him that cut because he was like, "Anybody got any new scratches in the crowd?" So I came up and got on stage and started, showing him. All right. So then we got another flare, delete, scratch, stab, and then this is a 3-click orbit, right? And there's different variations of 3-click orbits. There's one that sounds like this, but this one doesn't sound like that. This one is more of a complex time signature where it's going. This one, the clicks are even, where the clicks are constantly being clicked in an even manner. So it's going. See, notice my hand is continuously clicking. So this is a continuously clicking 3-click, which sounds different from one like this. Right, because that one has 3 fast clicks, but then your hand kind of stops for a second and then does another 3 fast clicks. Right? So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do this whole phrase right here. So it goes and being able to vocalize it with your mouth is very important. Ancient Indian tabla notation uses beatboxing and uses the vocal manifestations of the drum patterns. So being a turntablist, being able to vocalize these patterns is also important, just as important as being able to actually scratch them, right? So I'm saying all right, so it's gonna sound like that. that, this line right here. Now we're gonna do this one. It's a wah, 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 wah. See, once you know these scratches, then you can break it down and you know that this is a wah and it's a character to me. So when I see this, it's the same as me seeing like, you know, the word and or something. I know what it is. Oh, I know and, I know how to say it, I know what it looks like. So I know this is a wah, I know what it looks like. Because if you don't know what all these looks like, it looks like a bunch of waves. It just looks like a bunch of gobbledygook, right? So I'm gonna do wah, 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 and then even 2-click orbit, and then even 3-click, even 3-click, and then an even 2-click. So it's gonna go like this. Right, so I just did this whole line right here. And notice these wahs, I'm using them in cross rhythm, kind of like, you know, in the late 80s, a lot of people like Kool Keith were pioneering the cross rhythms, like fight the funk, beat the funk, drop the funk, you know, instead of just being like fight the funk, eat the funk, beat the funk, or whatever, you know, it's like fight the funk, duck the funk, bump the funk, you know. So this was going waka wakuga, waka wakuga, waka wakuga, waka wakuga, waka waka, waka wakuga, waka wakuga. So that's called a cross rhythm. And shout out to DJ Chile for doing a whole book on cross rhythms using TTM. All right, and I would like to see if he can sight read, because being able to sight read is very, very important to being able to practice. For the people that are just coming in the room, you know, I only, like, you see that I'm at one of the highest levels of scratching in the world. I'm definitely one of the top 10 scratch DJs in the world. But I'm able to keep my cut sharp through sight reading. This is how I practice. So I'm giving y'all, this is the first time I'm showing y'all how I actually practice. You know what I'm saying? But when I actually practice, I just do the whole thing. So I'm going to just go through this line by line, then we're going to do the whole thing. All right, so right now we're at, let's see, where are we? We're at this right here. Yeah, so we just did that one. Now we just did this cross rhythm one. Now we're back here. And this is like a kind of a 4-click, a long 4-click. That's going to be a lower pitch, because you see when it's stretched out like that real long, it's going to be a lower pitch. All right. Okay, let me fix this sound. There we go. There we go. So we are right here. So it's going. Right? So we just did that. Right? And then it's the same delete and a stab again. And then some wahs again. Waka wakuga, waka wakuga, waka waka. That's a cross rhythm pattern right there. And I did a whole tutorial on this specific pattern, like waka wakuga, waka wakuga, waka waka. Two wah and a flare. So we're gonna do this whole pattern right here. So. Alright, so I just did it like that. Now we're gonna do this next one. This is an even 2-click, and it sounds like regular flares, but it's not. So here we go. Right, and that's a long, real super low 4-click that I just did. So that's a 4-click flare where it's going. Whoops. So we're gonna go. It's 2-click, 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 4-click, 4-click. So it's going, all right. So now we're going to go to this next one, and this is just another delete to stab, and then another even 2-click, even 2-click, another delete to stab, and then another even 2-click, another even 2-click. So this is like these are easy for me to do. So this was kind of like a little break pattern. Like I was saying before, it's good to give yourself rest within the routine, like a little break, you know, just so it's not, everything is super complicated. It's good to mix complicated with not complicated so that you don't mess up. All right, so, and that's kind of how I wrote this routine, is to make it, that's why it's a lot of open fader stuff too. Notice that this is mostly open fader. It's not a lot of clicks, but there's still a lot of sounds. You know what I'm saying? There's no autobahns in here. I don't do autobahns or boomerangs because it's mad clicks, right? It's mad clicks, and it sounds just like some other stuff. It sounds like a lot of things that you can go faster with. So for me, speed and rhythm is more important than just doing mad clicks. Okay, so we just did that one, so we're gonna do this one right here. So we're gonna go, whoops. Alright, so I just did this line right here. Now this one is a bunch of chirps. You see that? Some triplet chirps. So it's going, and then this is a slow Joe Cooley. So there is a Joe Cooley in here. That's a Joe Cooley right there. And then it's going double time chirps. And then some fake Joe Cooleys, fake double time fast Joe Cooleys. And then waka. Right, so it's a flare and then another chirp in the end. So this is how that sounds. Right, so that's how that sounds. That's this line right here, basically, right? At the end, I might have done something weird. I might have done a stab on that at the end or something. But let's see. Actually, no, I did that right. So yeah, so now the next one is a delete to stab, and then that's a M flare, flare, right? This is a combo. I think I did a tutorial on just this combo in the past, but this is M flare, to flare, which sounds like this. That's how that sounds. He goes waka 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 waka. That's what this sounds like. And then this one is going waka. So this is another delete scratch to stab to the same pattern. Waka 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 waka. All right. And when I say waka, it's usually the open fader. Anytime you have an open fader sound and you hear the change of directions, it kind of makes a wah, which is different from like a transform, which is like a very sharp thing, which is just like a sharp cutoff. So it's just like going da 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 da. But when you're doing flares, it's like waka waka. It's not da 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 da, because that's like transforming, going da 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 da, like, right? But the flare is going, so it sounds like a waka. All right. All right. So we're gonna do this pattern right here. All right. So this one, so it goes. We just did that line right there. Now we're going to do this one. It's just a delete, 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 right? And then it's going, these are cross rhythms, M flare, M flare, M flare, M flare, and then a 2-click at the end. So it's going to be like this. Whoops, messed up. Whoops. Yeah, let me do it without, I'm hunching my back. I got really bad posture because I was trying to like be in the video in a different angle, but so I'm not going to hunch my back. All right, so let me do that one more time. I'm just doing it slow, so it goes. All right, so that's it right there. So I'm going to go faster, so it goes. Alright, so that was that line. Now it's going, the next one, this one's the easier one because it's got wahs in there. So it's going delete to stab, wah, wah, flare, delete to stab, and then triplet 2-click flare, the one that everybody does, and then another triplet 2-click flare, and then a flare. So it's going. Right? So it's good to be able to do that with your regular fingers and clicking, and also with the twiddle style too, like. Right, so being able to do that too, because then you can go super fast. Right? So you can do that really, really fast, right? I was doing this right here. That's a 2-click to flare, right? Now the next one, so we didn't do the whole line, so I'm gonna do the whole line. So it goes like this. Right, so I just did that whole line. Now this next one, these are M flare, flare. That's a cross rhythm pattern. So double waka waka, double waka waka, waka waka, right? And then this is the same thing again, double waka waka, double waka waka, waka waka. Right, and then a wah, a wah, a wah, a wah. These are cross rhythms, and then and then it goes into a even 2-click at the end, right? So I'm gonna do that whole pattern. All right, so that's that whole line. Now this next one, this is towards the end of it. This is a delete scratch. I forgot to put the little stab in there. There should be a stab. I'll add that. And then there's it goes. Then this is a 2-click chin machine, right? And then a flare, then another delete scratch. Remember DJ Trouble out of France. Shout out to DJ Trouble for inventing this. And then a stab at the end, and then some chirps. These look like some. These aren't double time ones. These are some triplet chirps. And then here it gets into double time. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do this second to last line. Whoops. So these are triplet chirps, like. All right, now we're gonna do this last line. So it's going the tip flare, flare, tip flare, flare, and then 2-click chin machine, 2-click chin machine, and a release at the end. That's it. So it's going. Right? Alright, and that's how it goes. And that's the end of the song. So now we're gonna go through the whole song. Shout out to everybody that's in the room. Alright, so this is the first time I've let people into my practice sessions, because when you know how to sight read, you don't have to memorize, you don't have to keep your skills sharp through brute practice. You know what I'm saying? It's just like with reading a book. You learn how to do it in kindergarten. You learn how to do it in, whatever grade you learn how to read. And now that you can read, you don't have to memorize books. You can just say, hey, I'm going to open up this book. And your reading skills are probably just as sharp as when you were 15 or 20. Even if you're 30 or 40 or if you're 28, being able to read, being literate helps you actually keep your reading skills sharp. Because once you become literate, your brain, the way that your brain looks at stuff, it doesn't just look at it as a bunch of garble. Like, when most people see this, they'll just see a bunch of waves and clicks. But I see individuals, I can see all the individual scratches in here as if they were characters, because they are characters. I'm recognizing each scratch equation, these are scratch calculus equations, as a character. Because remember, trigonometry is when you're just dealing with waves, like sine waves and cosine and tangent and all that type of stuff, all different types of waves. When you start chopping those waves up and being like, oh, this wave only goes this far and ends here, that's calculus. So now y'all know what calculus is. A lot of times people try to make calculus seem like it's some crazy thing, but to put it in a nutshell, calculus is just chopping up waves. So that's what turntablism is. All right, so now we're going to go through the whole thing. And so before I would have to literally to stay sharp at the level that I'm at now, I would literally have to be, practicing every couple days. But now I can go for a month and just practice, do this routine 3 times one day, once a month, and I'm fine because I can stay at this level. It's like, hey, can you read Brave New World? If you can read Brave New World, then boom, your skill level's at a certain reading level. And you can keep yourself at that level by saying like, hey, I'm just going to open up Brave New World every now and then, or open up that paragraph. Once you become literate, you stay literate. You don't have to keep relearning stuff. Because that's what happens with most DJs. Like for instance, Flip Flop. Flip Flop is one of my favorite DJs. He's the reason why I switched to using my pointer finger to do a lot of cuts instead of. Yeah, so the technique that you're using is very, very important when you're practicing. I'm not sure what just got cut off. Some stuff got cut off. So we're going to do this whole thing now. I'm going to go all the way through. We're going to go slow. flare. Right, so on this one right there, I'm going to go back to here. Whoops. Whoops, I was messing up right here. I was just thinking about something else. Whoops. Whoops. I messed up right there. Back here. Whoops. All right, and that's the whole routine. That's it right there. That's it. So now I'm gonna go through it again, and this is how I practice. So. Oops, I'm stopped right there, those chirps. I'm gonna go back here. Whoops, I didn't do that last flare in the end. It goes wicka 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 wicka. Alright, like that. So I'm gonna do this whole line again. Right, so I just did that. Now we're back to here. Right, so we're just right there, so now we're going. And these are tangents right here. These are 2-click tangents, which sounds a little bit different than just a regular even 2-click. So instead of just going instead of doing that, I'm actually going, right? So it should sound more like that, actually. That's the way I wrote it. All right, so that's actually 2-click tangent. I was saying even 2 clicks, but really it's a 2-click tangent, so it sounds more like, right? All right, so let's go. So we're right. Let's see, we're right here. So let's start back up. Let's start back right here. So. Whoops. I was thinking about something else right here. All right, so let me go back to here. Right, so we just did that line. Now we're on this one right here. Right, now we just do this one where we loop and repeat it all over and over again. So. Right, so we just did that line. Now we're going to do this one. Whoops, and we're right here now. That last part should have sounded like that, so we'll do this again. Like that, so that's how it should sound. Now this next one. And that's it. That's how I practice. That's the routine. All right, so I'm going to try it again. Let me do it on just the F part, though. Let's use the louder part, because it's hard to hear that. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. It's so loud. There we go. I need to get that last part of that click on the M flare. So I'm gonna start the whole thing over. So yeah, enough of that. I was just doing some of that. So yeah, that's how I practice. And yeah, for those who want to learn, you can go to ttm.ninja. We have it all set up now. I'm still doing some construction on some of the page. A lot of the trees in the page we're still doing construction on. But yeah, so you can go to ttm.ninja. That's our new website. Got it up, and yeah, we got PMOS 100 available right now on Android and on Mac OS desktop. And with that tool, you can use that to help you, help you understand some scratches better. Let's actually zoom in some. Let's zoom into this routine a little bit more. Let's try to zoom in. And we're gonna do so. All right, so we're gonna do it again. I made this one actually what this one is over here. I did this one by accident. I should have done that because I had these lines kind of memorized and I did the wrong one. So really I should have done this right here, which is going M flare, M flare, flare. I forgot to do the flare. I was doing continuous M flares. So. Oops. So I'm gonna start over. So. Oops, let me do this again. All right, I just stopped it about there, but yeah, you get the point. But yeah, so the point of this lecture is to show that you can keep your skills sharp by learning how to read. You know what I'm saying? Because just like with math and just like with any science or reading books or English or whatever your language is, once you can read and see those characters, then you start seeing them as as actual ideas, and then you're not caught up in how to make those ideas happen. You're not thinking like, how do I say the word and? You don't have to think about that. Let me practice and say and over and over again, and in your studio. It's like, no. Once you know how to read, then you can just read a book, and then it keeps you sharp. So yeah, that's what this lecture was showing, right? All right, so that's it. All right, thanks for everybody that tuned in. All right, peace, y'all.